there's the type of person who never cleans out their junk drawer.
Yeah.
Who would really argue strongly, well, I need to keep this because I might need it someday.
Yeah.
And then maybe that point comes true, like they find I feel like there's a bunch of social media reels about this where like the dad finds like this perfect piece of wood that he needs for some random project. And he's like, see, I should have kept it.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's that type of person. Then there's another type of person who's constantly cleaning, curating, and maybe even gets wrapped up in that process in and of itself and finds worth and value in that. What would you say to both of those people? I guess that's maybe two questions, but what would you say to the person who's not willing to open the drawer because they think they need something and they've even seen that come true? And what would you say to the person who's all of a sudden very wrapped up in, yes, I've got to curate and I've got to clean, and finding their value in that?
Yeah. So I think the most powerful pastoral question that anyone can ask is, and this will sound just like eye-rollingly simple, but the most profound pastoral question anybody can ask is, why? So what I'd say to both is why. So for the person who is a spiritual hoarder, who is like, I have to keep all the spiritual things and add them to my collection. My question would be, why do you feel the need to do that? And I would dig into a conversation with them where maybe they say to me, well, I just I don't want to be caught not having the right truth, right? Or not believing the right thing.
Yeah.
And so then we'd go into a conversation of saying, well, how many right things are there that we need to hold on to, right? Because as Christians, what we would say is the one right thing, the one needful thing for us to believe or to depend upon is Christ.
Yeah.
And the work that He's completed for us.
Yeah.
Everything else is secondary. And so we talk about the necessity and the supremacy of the finished work of Jesus, and how that gives us the freedom to not have to hoard things spiritually. We get to let go. Now, what I also say to this person is, look, if you want to hold on to a bunch of stuff, like, I'm not gonna. You're still saved by grace, man.
Yeah.
You want to hold on to a bunch of stuff for sentimental reasons, or even some theological reasons that I might disagree. Fine. But what I want to do is I want to give you the freedom to know you can let go of all these other things.
Yeah.
Because the one thing has been given to you, the person and work of Jesus. Now, for the other person who is kind of religiously, zealously trying to clean out their spiritual life and stay spiritually perfect, what I would say, first thing I would say is, well, why do you feel the need to do that? Well, because I don't want to corrupt. I don't want to confuse. I don't want to cloud the truth in my life.
Right.
So I got to keep it clean. I got to Marie Kondo this thing all the time. And I would say, well, let's talk about what it is. I agree that we want to. I wrote this whole book about not clouding the message of the gospel. I get that. I get that desire. But let's remind ourselves of what we actually believe about the gospel. That the gospel is a gift. The gospel is the message of Christ crucified and risen for us, given to us, that makes us right now righteous and pure. Right? Does that sound like something we have to protect?
Yeah.
Does that sound like something we have to? We are actually set free in that message to simply enjoy that thing. We don't have to worry about protecting that thing. I appreciate your desire to religiously curate your life and keep it pure. But the truth is, we can't keep ourselves spiritually, theologically pure enough. We can't, and we also don't have to.
Yeah.
Right. We get to just enjoy the message of who Jesus is and what He's done for us. And I would actually invite that person to let their collection maybe even kind of just gather for the sake of like look, we're going to do some exposure therapy to you can open yourself up to some other ideas here, and you can listen to some podcasts that are outside of your tribe. Maybe you can read a couple books that might might challenge your worldview, and let's give the gospel an opportunity to prove that it's unthreatened by all these things, right?
That's amazing.
Right? So
yeah.
So I'd probably say, you know what? Let's just let it get dirty for a little bit, and let's trust that because the one thing that's most important is inside that drawer. Let's trust that it's going to take up the most space, and it's going to win the day.
Yeah,
so,
I love that image of like a dirty drawer and the gospel just shining through no matter what.
That's right.
So helpful. Whether there's too much clutter or we're afraid there's going to be too much clutter.
It's never going to be empty, right? Because like spiritual life is like a dynamic thing, right? So I grew up in the country in the middle of Michigan, and we would always go out like playing in the fields, playing in the woods and stuff. And it was the 80s. It was wild. They would just open the door and we'd run out. And then like 9 hours later, we'd come back and be like, we found a homeless person. like what? Yeah, he gave us $1. It was crazy. So like crazy things would happen, right? So like we would go wandering in the fields, and I was always... this is going somewhere. I would always wear like these sweatpants as a kid, right? So I was always wearing sweatpants.
Like a tracksuit?
No. Like not a tracksuit, but like I don't know. They're like a cotton.
Okay,
like
cotton
sweatpants.
comfy sweatpants. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and I would come back at the end of the day after having run through the fields, and there would be all these burrs just kind of all over me. And there'd be like almost impossible to pick out. They'd be in my shoelaces. They'd be all over my pants because I've run through the fields waist high, and all this stuff sticks to me, and I bring it home with me, right?
Yeah.
That's another analogy for what it is to live a spiritual for our spiritual lives.
Yeah.
We are running through the world each and every day. You don't have the option not to. You are wading through human existence, and there's all this stuff that sticks to you.
Yeah.
The messages that you surround yourself with, the books that you read, the podcasts you listen to, the social media you scroll through, the algorithm, all of it. Your well-intentioned friend who texts you some truism about how the world works and how it's all going to work out, okay, whatever. Like all that stuff is all around you, and it sticks to you. And you come home at the end of the day and maybe you don't even notice it, but there's all these burrs like all over your legs and on your shoelaces, and you carry them with you.
Yeah.
And so it takes intention to like notice them and go, I need to remove some of these, right? But it's not an option as to whether or not it's going to happen. It is going to happen. You go through life and you pick up all this spiritual stuff. And then what we get to do, what we're invited to do, we have the freedom to do because we already belong to God the Father's family through the work of Jesus Christ, is we get to, with a spirit of freedom and with great peace in our hearts, we get to look at all the stuff that sticks to us and go, oh, well, I don't need this.
Yeah.
And pull that off and throw it to the floor. And this was well-intentioned, but I don't really need that. Pull that off and throw it to the floor. And this is kind of strange. I don't know where I picked up that, but pull that off and throw it to the floor. And but we don't have the option not to experience that, because spiritual life is dynamic. We're running through this world, and all this stuff sticks to us, and it's either going to accumulate and you're just going to kind of navigate it, or you're going to curate it and kind of look at it, examine it, and
pick it off.
And